Two things about design. Innovation keeps on cropping up and doing stuff. The other is we seem to have talked a lot about people working for companies. There is another side of making that company yourself, and potentially a lot of the projects we see here could be turned into businesses. How do we do that? Our next guest has actually done that it happens to be at Brunel, and done it in a lot of different areas, not design, but in bioengineering. And smart materials. Bioengineering, in fact, a term which I'm sure you all know, but which was also invented by Heinz Wolff, so I'm led to believe. So it's kind of, this next bit is maybe just to listen and get a few slightly oddball messages about how to be a serial entrepreneur. Or it could be motorcycle maintenance in Paraguay, you were telling me earlier. But anyway, whatever it is, Professor Tony Anson from Brunel University. Thank you for it.
Thank you for that enigmatic introduction. I guess I want to be politically incorrect this evening, and I'd also very much like to uplift the splendid show today. And as the last speaker said, it's really a very, very good quality. However, I have a take on this, which is a bit off the wall, and I'd like to explain some of that. Thank you. I believe the potential basis for business, or indeed any other endeavour, if you want to become a scientist or a designer or whatever, may be comprised, or perhaps should be comprised, of some of these elements. Risk. If you sit on your butt all day, you'll achieve nothing. I really believe in autocracy, and I'd like to expand on that. Team working, it's rubbish, it's complete rubbish. John Donne here, 1572 to 1631, of course famous for several sayings, including "no man is an island." John Donne was a liar, because every man is indeed an island, although I'm taking that somewhat out of context at the moment. But achievements are not undertaken, ultimate achievements are not undertaken by committees. There's a recent paper actually by an Austrian academic group that's determined anything more than 20 people making decisions, it just don't work. I rest my case: Inland Revenue, Air Traffic Control, NHS, and so on and so forth. I'm taking that slightly out of context. Now, as far as autocracy is concerned, I've put a list which will be understood by those who have double firsts in classics here, perhaps less so by some of the more technically orientated people. But these are very, very good examples of people ultimately in real adversity. I mean, people like Beethoven and Van Gogh, they had a problem with their hearing, as you know, real autocracy, I've shown the Beatles here as a quartet of individuals. Of course, they all made really, really good music. They did work together and produce some very fine music, of course, but they are really autocrats. I'd like to show you another example in just a second, if I can get my timing right, of I guess I'm a hypocrite here, because I'm talking about a duet in autocracy. This is a very good colleague of mine, friend and colleague, Professor Brian Hopkinson, vascular surgeon, pretending to be an engineer on his Lake Windermere steam launch with his oil can, and there's me, the engineer, pretending to be a surgeon in theatre. The result of that, however, has been very, very synergistic. These individual people in this duet to produce ultimately problems presented to me through, I guess, a design or inventive route, a whole list of things. And these are factual things. Indeed, right down the bottom at the left, if you're not too squeamish, this was a surgical instrument we produced, which was used the day before yesterday in theatre to improve the access into the body so the surgeon could do their good works. Smart memory staples for stitching things together in the body. Novel methods of minimally invasive treatment of heart valves, and so on and so forth. Another list of things, if you're not too squeamish, this is replacement arm joint. There's the same instrument being used, or a similar instrument. Underneath this is a strange material. You'll see another slide in a moment. I don't know whether you can see my, what I think is splendid black watch here on my arm. This is coated with diamond, and that's representative of diamond-like carbon coating. Another thing which came out of these duets and these synergies with various people, the vascular staples being used inside the body, total hip replacements, the design of those and the coating, indeed with diamond-like carbon, and last but not least perhaps urinary catheters. These big problems and big opportunities there. in this area. This is my large image of the diamond-coated watch. We're working with some fairly well-known names I won't mention, but Rolex, Tag Heuer and Rado. This is actually spreading into the luxury goods field. So the announcement wasn't entirely correct. I do actually do a bit of design as well. I'm into the aesthetics of that. This is an interesting representation of inventive skills. Heath Robinson, as you may know, was a prolific inventor of almost impossible things. Some of them could be put into action. He didn't actually make anything from his inventions, but he sure made a lot of money out of the cartoons and the books he drew. My heart of it all, slightly controversial, this is a brain, of course. This is where it all happens for these splendid Brunel students, some of which I've been involved in some of their artifacts being shown today. But this is where it all comes from. And I would ask you, are you into a cordon bleu or a greasy spoon? I don't think it actually matters the level of endeavour you get into. If you achieve with it, ultimately, that's a very, very good thing indeed. They contain essentially the same things. I'm speaking somewhat metaphorically here, fat, vegetable, carbohydrate, protein. That, of course, will be a lot more expensive than your greasy spoon, perhaps, depending whether you're into Conran or perhaps the local high street cafe. But yes, the unique recipe, something completely new, or possibly, like a patent, there's nothing new, it's all improvements. Everything was done between 1800 and about 1900. And the student, I think, should be prepared to take a risk, to go forward with their endeavours, autocratically make your own decisions, don't feel too exposed in doing that, be number one in a field of one. There's only two really important things that ever really happened to you in your life, and of course one's to be born, one's to die. This is my first bit of stimulation. My first Meccano set is about a 6-year-old, double zero, actually I'm wrong there, I put 0 for anyone that knows about Meccano. This set me off on a trail of inventiveness, if you like, the food for thought here, as far as that inventiveness is, again, the risk of repeating myself, is autocracy. Take risk, find stimulation, possibly in taking that risk, and romance. Very important. By romance, I mean in the broader sense, of course. You need to love what you're doing. You need to develop a love affair. This is a picture, incidentally, of my personal donkey. This is Tufty, or it's a donkey I support in a sanctuary, who's absolutely wonderful animal, galloping forward. That's what I'd like to see students doing, and indeed anyone in an endeavour they're trying to chase going forward. So life's endeavours, doing it yourself is the message I'm trying to portray here. That's got to be the end of that 20 seconds. Okay, maybe I doubled that up. Okay, as a 3-year-old,